Now, NASA's Perseverance rover continues to make history from the surface of Mars. Just days after the first powered, controlled flight on another world, the rover has now made another stunning advance. A toaster-sized device on the rover has made oxygen from the planet's carbon dioxide atmosphere, equivalent to what an astronaut on the red planet would need to breathe for roughly 10 minutes. Well, that oxygen was generated by a small device called Moxie. And Dr. Michael Hecht from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology is the principal investigator behind this oxygen-making device. And I'm very pleased to say he joins us live now. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It is Moxie, isn't it? Tell us a little bit about this toaster-sized device.
Certainly, I'm very glad to be here, and we may have made oxygen on Mars, but I'm breathing easier today here on Earth. Moxie is if you will, a mechanical tree, in that it does the same thing a tree does. It turns CO2 into oxygen that we can breathe, and more importantly, that our rockets can use to breathe so they can burn their fuel. That's the real long-term goal of Moxie, to help astronauts come home from Mars someday, because they need a huge tank of oxygen to lift that rocket off the ground. Moxie works something like a fuel cell in a chemical reaction. In this case, carbon dioxide going to its components, to oxygen and carbon monoxide, is driven by an electric current, by a power supply. And that's how we generate oxygen out of the CO2 on Mars.
It's when you describe it like that, it just sounds absolutely incredible. Moxie has made these 5 grams of oxygen, which will let an astronaut breathe for around 10 minutes. I'm assuming the greater plan is to scale this up. So to have a whole colony of people out there? What's your thinking?
Well, the shorter term plan is for those first missions to Mars, when a crew of maybe 4 astronauts might land on the surface, spend a year or a year and a half on the surface, and then come home. And they will have with them only what they can take with them. So this way we can provide 25 tons of oxygen for them to breathe, and more importantly, so they can actually get back home from the planet. In the longer term, you're quite right. I hope we have a research station like many countries have in Antarctica, that we can keep populated with new crews coming in every couple of years to continue doing research on the surface of the red planet.
Now, for all of us who've watched, say, Martian with Matt Damon, is that, you're thinking that we will have people up there getting on with their lives, doing experiments? It just sounds absolutely like from a sci-fi film.
It certainly does, but I hope to see it, and I certainly expect my kids to see it. But I hope to live long enough to see that day, maybe in 15 or 20 years, where we take those first steps. We're very grateful, I have to say, to Andy Weir for writing and creating the movie The Martian, because what we are doing is the oxygenator. And when we say the oxygenator, people now know what we mean.
And I'm just super impressed that Moxie has its own merchandising as well. It's a very fetching gilet that you're wearing. But on a serious note, it's for people, you're talking about having something like this in the next 15 years. That's just quite staggering.
It is indeed. And it's hard to predict the political future. I think we can say with confidence that the technology can happen by then, and that fortunately it is not just NASA anymore who's engaged in that journey. And I don't mean just SpaceX, I mean so many other countries. Just look this year at 3 different spacecraft from 3 countries arrived at Mars. So I'm truly confident that this this next step of our human journey to another planet is going to continue.
It's extraordinary, isn't it, Dr. Hecht? Absolute pleasure. Pleased that you're breathing freely today from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you.